Let's move to Jill, listening in Syracuse, New York. Jill, welcome to the program. What's your question for Canon Sharpe?
Thank you. So I'm going to be invited to a wedding where the groom is a baptized Catholic and he's marrying a non-Catholic, maybe, I don't know, maybe no spirituality, I'm not sure, in a casino. So the question is, should I go to that? And also, if I'm going to advise, if I have the opportunity to advise a family member on what they can do to kind of straighten the course before it happens so that the other people can attend, what would you suggest?
Thank you very much for your question, Jill. It's unfortunately commonplace these days that we be exposed to places, circumstances, especially regarding marriage, that can indeed be scandalous. So in the absolute, if you could avoid going to the wedding, you should do so. You know, it's an affront to what the church teaches and believes about marriage, the great beauty of the sacrament of a marriage that is a living witness of the union of our Lord with his church. Unfortunately, and this is where, you know, other factors can come into play. The first consideration is, am I being asked to take any active part in this wedding? You know, an earlier questioner was talking about someone who was actually going to witness the wedding in an official capacity. That would be a formal cooperation in an affront to our Catholic faith, and therefore absolutely to be excluded. Let's say for a moment you're not being asked to have an active part in the wedding. It's an important consideration is, you know, how is my attendance or non-attendance going to be perceived by the couple attempting marriage themselves, you know, other individuals who will be aware of it. And the great irony of our modern age is that, you know, whereas it would have been perfectly understood in the past, you know, I'm a Catholic, I can't attend these kinds of ceremonies, that there can conceivably be an instance where, you know, my refusal to go on the reasons of my faith might actually become scandalous to those individuals and lead them to a hardening of their hearts against the Catholic faith. And so it depends, you know, very, very much on the particular circumstances of the invitation. You know the family best, you know how your attendance or non-attendance will be interpreted. What we want is, we don't want to lead anyone into sin. So if my attendance will be interpreted as an approval of an affront to the Catholic Church's teaching about marriage, about the sanctity of marriage, etc., then in good conscience, I cannot go. However, if my lack of attendance might, you know, lead to a breach in charity and might have the opposite effect and actually harden their hearts against the Catholic faith, something for you to prudently consider, then it actually, if I can do so discreetly without causing scandal to anyone else, then my kind of mute, circumspect attendance might be advised in that instance. And so the general principle would be to avoid going and to, if possible, you know, either yourself or anyone else close to the wedding, you know, to advise others not to go as well. But again, if that very fact of not going could itself be scandalous, then that could potentially, not necessarily, potentially be sufficient reason for you to assist in such a ceremony. However, by the very fact that it's in a casino, of course, you know, a location that is very often a remote occasion of sin for various reasons, that as well is already, you know, leading in the direction that it would likely be a ceremony to avoid.